I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
And I'm Waleed Cope. This is Commerce and Chill.
Welcome back. Thanks for coming back to this latest episode of Commerce and Chill. It's the place where business intersects with life and love. I am Jessica Johnson Cope. You can call me Commerce.
I'm Waleed Cope. You can just call me Waleed.
You're just a little too chill today, Cope.
I'm baked. It's been a long week.
But you know what the song says, got to give the people,
Yeah, I'm
give
here.
the people what they want.
Listen, I'm committed to this. We're here.
So
We're telling the story.
I need you to put your all in it. Or as they say in the other song, put your back into it. Come on. And give them a good show today.
Yeah, okay, Joe.
What are we talking about?
So I got an email from Hamlet, and we were talking about I'm confused. Oh, I cursed. Sorry. Somebody beep that out.
That's okay. So today's topic that we discussed was hiring and firing. Finding the right people, getting them on your team quickly, and getting rid of the people that don't have a place on the team. It seems like a very timely topic. Are you exhausted because of issues with people who either needed to be fired themselves, or people that you want to hire and you just can't find the right people? Is it any of those scenarios?
Son, all of the above. Check, 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 check. It's crazy. Like, listen, the biggest thing with business is people. That's it. Like, I don't care if we were making widgets. Like, in both, one of our businesses is a service. Both our businesses is a service business, but one deals more with service, with a product, because we're dealing with people's garments and clothes. But on this side of the business, we're dealing with the people are the product, because they're doing a service that they perform. Greeting people, checking people in and out. It's like, it's tough, man. It's freaking tough.
So let's give the folks in podcast land an overview of really what happens, right? Because when we talk to people about small businesses, typically when they see us, they think, oh, you have a micro business. Shout out to all the moms and pops out there.
What is a micro business?
So
all these terms.
One of the local politicians, he thought that we had a micro business because he was under the impression that we only had a handful of employees.
So what does he consider micro? Like 10 people, 5 people, 3 people?
He didn't say which one.
Listen, but it doesn't matter.
Hold on.
What people don't understand is you could have 3 people. You could have 300 people. If the people don't execute on what needs to be done, it's still a headache for you. It's still a problem you got to deal with. If I had 3 people, it'd be like, oh, it's so much easier with 3 people. No, it's not. It's the same headaches. It's just 3 people. And sometimes it's even worse with 3 people versus 300, because with 300, you got these other layers for people to be able to absorb some of the other duties, versus 3 people will be like, yo, Jim, you were supposed to do X. You didn't show up today. Now I got to do Jim's job and my job.
But you're painting a picture like it's completely terrible to have employees.
I'm not saying it's terrible. What is terrible when you don't have the right people in the right position wherever you're traveling to. So if this was a subway car and we're taking the A train downtown because we're going back to Brooklyn, shout out to my people in Brooklyn, 11233 Bed-Stuy. If we were on the A train going downtown and you got people sitting in the wrong seats, they're not performing the right tasks. Or maybe they really don't belong on the A train. They really belong on the Uptown number 4 going local. So that's what the real thing is, having the right people on the team and then making sure they're in the right place. And if they're not, then figuring something out really quick.
So let's pause for a moment, because there's some people out there that are either thinking about starting a business or who have a small business that are tempted to not grow their business because they're like, oh no, I don't want no employees. Oh no, that dude there said employees are a headache.
I'm not saying that. The whole, like, go to anybody's IG or Facebook right now And what do they put in their profile? Not anybody's, but you know what I mean.
No.
They got CEO, entrepreneur, and then all their pictures is like, oh, look, I'm on a yacht. I'm at the pool. I'm drinking champagne. I'm on the beach somewhere. I'm on vacation. When's the last time you took a vacation?
That's not a subject for us to discuss in this forum.
But I'm trying to figure out how all these other people got CEO and entrepreneurs in their profile, and every time I scroll on a picture, they on vacation.
Oh, first of all,
And I ain't hating. I'm just saying I want to understand that, because clearly, if they're on the beach all the time where they have time to do this, their business must be it must be super efficient, or they got the hella right people on the team so they can remove themselves from it. Or clearly I'm doing something 100% wrong.
well, I would suggest maybe you start by following different people, because the people you following are on the jets and on the
I'm not following them. Let's be
I
clear.
mean, they're coming up in your feed. Clean your feed out, man.
No, I'm not following them. Let's be for real. I'm just saying that's the image that's put out there now. So when people look at that, they're just like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur or CEO or whatever the cool terminology is for it now to be self-employed. Because every time I switch on these profiles, I see them. They're at the club. They down in Miami for the Super Bowl, or they chilling in the pool.
It sounds like you're hating.
No, I'm not hating.
It sounds like it.
No. By no means am I hating. But people need to understand what the real picture is. If you look at the stats from SBA, like how many small businesses fail in the first 3-5 years, whatever the stat is.
Well, the majority of businesses won't make it past the second year.
Right. So how are all these people, CEOs and entrepreneurs in their profile that says they're in business, and they've been posting and doing this for a minute, and they'd have made it past second, third year?
If you drill down, though, what does it say they're the CEO of? Maybe they're the CEO of their life.
I don't know, because that's probably a good one, but I'm not drilling down because I'm not looking.
Maybe
I'm not
they
looking
don't
at
have the papers.
But I just want to make sure
Maybe they're
people.
not legit official. Maybe they don't have an LLC, S Corp, C Corp. They don't have an accountant.
Maybe they're sole proprietorship.
Maybe they're a sole proprietorship.
I don't know.
Bless their souls.
I'm just saying I want people to understand what it is. I'm not telling anybody. Just like we went to the event the other night and we were talking to your friend, and they were asking me about, they were talking about getting into the laundry business, right? I'm not deterring anybody from being an entrepreneur. But if you ask me something about being an entrepreneur, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. I'm going to tell you the good, and I'm going to tell you the bad. My methodology is the same. I'm calling it the Amazon principle, right? When I go to buy something from Amazon, and these guys, we talk about it all the time when we be trying to order these mics and other equipment. I look at something on Amazon, I sort by user reviews. That's the first thing I do, right? And then I say, which product has the most reviews? And I go to that one. That's in for the product I'm looking for. Then when I look at it, this one's got over 200, 300, 400 reviews. Okay, that's a good pool of people who've used it. When I see 10, 12, 15, 30, I'm like, nope, not enough people using that product. Then when I go to the product that has several hundred reviews, I go to the worst review first. And I look at that review. I go to whoever gave the product 1 star, I go right to that review. And whatever they say the problem they had with it, I look at it and say, if I have that problem with that product, could I live with that? Is that acceptable enough for me? And if I say yes, then I go to the best review and read that. And then I say, you know what? Add to cart. But when I read that worst review, if I can't live with it, I don't buy the product. So somebody says the package arrived and the box had a hole in it and the thing was cracked. Well, that's not a problem with the product. That happened during the shipping process. Or somebody says, when I got it, I hooked the mic up, I did this, and the audio quality is horrible. Then I check another one and somebody else says the same thing. Then I'm like, that product's not for me. So if I can live with the worst review, then I move forward. So that's how when people ask me about entrepreneurship, I'm going to tell you what the hard points are with it, what reality is.
What your reality is.
Right. But I'm also going to tell you the good stuff too.
What your good stuff is.
Right. Because they might have a different experience. But if they're looking to get into a similar industry, there are going to be commonalities around the good and the bad parts of that industry. But it's going to be slightly different from person to person because everybody's a different type of operator, manager / owner.
What does that have to do with hiring and firing?
What do you mean? What does it have to do with hiring and firing?
I'm bringing it back to the topic at hand.
It does. So at the same time, when you're hiring and firing someone, when you hire them and they're working, you got to look for those 1-star reviews. But the challenge is not a problem. You can't look at the 1-star review in the interview because they don't exist. So what you have to do is you're guessing when you hire someone. You're making the best guess based on a pool of candidates you've interviewed, based on their resume, their experience, and how they get along in the interview.
I'm going to beg to differ a little bit because I would be the first one to say that many people, when they show up for job interviews, they send a representative.
That's why you're guessing.
But there's some people that come full frontal who they are. For example, the other day we had a young man come in and our HR manager said she felt like she was at the club. Like, dude was about to break out in a freestyle. He had on his acid wash jeans and his best fitted.
But you know what? I respect him for that because he came as who he is.
And he can go home who he is, yet unemployed.
Yes, no problem. But at least he came. He showed her in the interview who he is. I have much respect for that versus him coming in and trying to pretend to be something he's not. So then if he gets the job under that pretense and then he crumbles during the probation period, or even if he makes a pass, he crumbles because now he can't keep up the facade, right? So I have more respect for someone that comes to the interview and be like, listen, this is who I am. I can only add up to 12 in my head, and you want to hire me for an accountant position, but I'm really good with a calculator. Okay, I know what I'm getting. Versus the person that comes and they put the suit on and they all professional and they had their friend do the resume and somebody else did this and then they come in and present it. I'm like, wow, they got a nice portfolio to this. And then when I hire them, I'm like, okay, I need you to go do X, which is similar to what was in your portfolio. And then they're like, what's Excel? What? What do you mean you don't know what Excel is? On your resume, it said you're proficient in.
File save as.
Oh, I thought you said that. This was a message on my phone. But it says you're proficient in Excel on your resume. But you don't know what Excel is now that I hired you. That's you're making an educated guess based on the information that's presented to you. So he came in his club attire. I respect that. He didn't pretend. But you're still guessing on what you see. It's an educated guess. Their face says you think different.
I think that's crazy.
What's crazy? Guessing?
No, I think it's crazy showing up as your authentic club self.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you on. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not saying that people can't be authentic and at the same time be appropriate.
No, I'm not saying don't get me wrong. I'm not saying someone should come to the interview like that. I'm looking at it from the other end of the spectrum to say I respect it because you came as who you are, because that's how you're going to show up to work when I hire you. Because you're probably not going to want to wear your uniform all the time because you're going to be feeling very comfortable or very clubbish. I'm just saying I respect it because you just made it easier for me to understand who you are, what you bring to the table, and what you don't for this type of position. So maybe he's a good fit for a different type of position where I want someone who wears club attire.
Okay, so I'm going to put it out there like this. I have a lot of stuff to do. So if I'm going to meet with someone for purposes of interviewing them for a job interview, a job opportunity, don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. Like, if you're going to show up in your full club authentic self and we not going to the club, don't show up at my office. Like, I'd rather you call and say, I changed my mind, because you're wasting my time and you're getting in the way of my potentially seeing somebody who might be a good fit, might be appropriate, and know what to wear, not only to the job, but also what to wear to the interview. And the challenge is, too often we as a culture, we as a society aren't taking the appropriate steps to train people to work, right? Yeah, they got workforce development programs, but I'm saying in terms of building work ethic, knowing how to show up on time and show up and be present, we as a society are not really good in demonstrating how that works. And so, not pointing to any specific age demographics or socioeconomic demographics, but I would just say the more people that we come in contact of late, that people just don't understand how to show up for work. And so when presenting themselves for job opportunities, don't present their best self. So if you want some tips on how to show up as your best self to get a job, holla at your girl. I'll help you. My aunties come to me to get jobs, and I have a winning record with them. So holla at your girl if you're trying to get a job. But don't waste my time if you're not for real. If you're not about that work life, don't holla at me.
Okay, cool, legit. Holler at you. I need a job.
I got a job for you. See, that's the other thing people don't understand when they come and apply for a job to us. And they're like, oh, but Ms. Johnson, you don't understand. You don't have to apply for no job. You the boss. What they don't understand is I have to apply for jobs repeatedly. I'm one of the only people that I know in my circle who has a job, who continues to have to look for jobs. Because when people hire me, they're really hiring the firm. When they hire the firm, that's putting individuals to work. So my job interview, my application, my resume, and how I present Johnson Security is a job search for other people. So I'm going to do my best for the people on our team. I just need whoever wants to be on our team to do their best so I don't look like a jack in the box when I go to a client. Because the client is buying me, but they're getting you.
So you're basically saying you have to go on an interview every time we get new business.
Definitely go on an interview every time we get new business. This is like if you're trying to find a spouse or trying to find somebody to date, you keep dating, right? Most people, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, most of the people, be it on if you using an app or if you out in the club or out in the bar or in your co-living space, when you meet somebody and you just start dating them, you typically don't stop dating other people.
So the question is, when do you, if you find that person, you start dating them, when do you know to say, this is the one, or I need to pack this in and call it a day?
When the job starts paying out dividends. So whether it's in a work relationship or in a personal relationship,
when the job
starts paying out dividends, that's when you know you either lock it in.
I'm talking about from
lock it out.
We talking about from the business owner / entrepreneur / CEO, whatever the title. When we go back to the whole social media, Instagram, everybody
CEO of self.
Right. You have people on your team, whether it's back to you said the politician said the micro business or the macro business, whatever the terms they use. You got 3 employees? No, forget it. You got 1 employee or you got 300 employees. When do you know that it's time to say this person is not in the right seat on this A train going downtown?
So it's a couple of things. With us, I say, first of all, it starts with value system, right? Because people can present with all types of experiences and they can give you results that they've had. But if your value systems don't line up, that's not going to be a winning relationship. The same as when you're dating somebody.
So basically, if you're interviewing someone, if you don't get a good vibe from them, basically, you don't gel or mesh with them during the interview.
No, it's not quite the same because that's more like a feeling. But when I talk about values and what's important, right? So you can write on your application where you worked, but I'm going to ask you questions about how do you spend your time? What's important to you? Why did you like your last job? Why did your last boss like you? So I can understand what values drive you. If you're somebody that shows up so that you can perform your best, then that's one thing as opposed to someone that shows up so they can get a check. If somebody sits down and say, I left my last job because they kept asking me to take out the garbage. But what was your job? I worked for the Department of Sanitation. Like
well, maybe they worked in
Done.com.
Maybe they worked in the office at Department of Sanitation.
Done.com.
But they asked them to take the trash out every time when they would leave.
Done.com. Like there's something about sanitation that suggests trash. So if you have an issue with trash, that speaks to your value system. And you weren't honest with yourself to say, I don't like to take out the trash. I can't work for the trash agency. So values are more of a things that are drivers, not necessarily feelings, but the drivers. So if it's important for us to show up on time, be present, answer a client, be responsive, and somebody is like, oh yeah, I was waiting for y'all to call me for a job. Well, sir, I emailed you. Oh, I'm sorry. I broke my phone last week. Oh, I see you emailed me. Yes, sir. I emailed you 18 days ago. Like,
okay, so
that speaks to your value system. And if I know that,
maybe the value system, maybe they're just not good with email.
They may not be
Like they
good with
prefer to
email.
write letters, or
They might
use
prefer to write
pigeons or
letters.
smoke signals.
They might prefer pigeons and smoke signals. But there's this thing called Link NYC, where if you don't have a phone, you could go and make phone calls.
Yeah, I didn't know you could make phone calls on that until like last week. I heard somebody making a phone call, and I was just like, I thought it was somebody's like the Bluetooth in somebody's car mad loud. I was like, shoot, you can make phone calls on.
You can use the internet.
I'm about to go out there and make free phone calls.
Worst
and
come to
save
worst,
the phone bill.
you can
The
go to the
office.
library. Most libraries let you use the internet for
All right,
free.
so-
So the least he could have done 18 days ago was send me an email. Okay,
All right.
acknowledge, receive.
Okay, so totally respect.
So you
Respect.
have to make sure that
he
your
didn't follow
values
through.
line up, whether it's business or professional.
Okay, so
That's
you
the first
find
thing.
someone and the values are a match. You hire them. They start working, and then 4 months in, they're not producing to the level you thought they
You
were.
don't give them 4 months.
3 months.
You don't give them 3 months.
Okay, so 2 months in, they're not producing to the level you
So
thought.
listen,
Then
if
what?
you're the leader out there, you have to be very specific, because left to their own devices, oftentimes people are not going to be specific enough. As soon as you bring that person on a team, make sure you have a clear understanding of what their roles and responsibilities will be. So if they don't have a job description, you tell them.
Okay,
And-
no, I'm
and-
saying
hold on,
they
hold
got a
on.
job description.
They got a job
They
description.
got all that,
But
but
you
they
don't
did-
wait 4 months
Okay,
to
2
see
months.
whether or not. You don't wait 2 months.
So then
You're
what do you
checking
win?
in from day one. This is the expectation. We're going to check in week 1, week 2,
Okay, well,
40,
they did.
30 days.
You know, it's an entrepreneur. They're like they're being pulled 100 different ways. So you know what? It's before you knew it, they spoke to the person a couple times. They didn't meet the mark. Blah blah blah. And then next you know, it's month 4. What do they do from there?
You send them home. And then you say, I apologize. It's my fault. It's not you. It's me. We should have done this a long time ago. So since you're not going to step up, I'm going to be the big lady. I'm going to put on my big girl panties and say, arrivederci. Like,
But then
it's not working.
what does the person do now? If you get a small
That's
business,
not my problem.
no. We're talking about if someone identifies a person is wrong. They got I don't know 3, 4, 5 employees, maybe 10, 12, and then that person plays a key role. Clearly, they hired them because they needed them to do something. So now you're saying 4 months goes by, it's not a good fit. It's my fault. Sorry. Blah blah blah. You gotta go.
Give me your keys.
Arrivederci. Then what do you do with their workload?
You do it. So,
But
hold on.
But you're already doing 100 things already.
Then you figure it out. We're entrepreneurs. We figure out how to solve problems. The first thing we do is figure out how to make it without that person, because we're making it without that person before. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are afraid to take steps, to take action. Action is where it happens. Life meets you at action. Money meets you at action. So you got to take action. And
These
sometimes
one-liners today.
And sometimes action means saying goodbye. So you can't be afraid about what your workload is going to be, because I see it too often where supervisors are like, oh, well, let's not bring so-and-so in for discipline because I need him to go to work. That I need clients who respect me and pay me for a good service.
Do we
So
have to beat that
I'm
out?
going to give them good service. And if that means it's not that person that shows up late to work, then they have to
We
go.
might have to change the rating on this podcast to explicit.
And on that note, we have to go. I didn't realize we were going to take so much time. That know this: if you're trying to grow your small business, don't not think about hiring people. Be smart about how you hire. He didn't say it today, but one of his mottos is hire fast, fire faster.
Oh, I totally I'm not disputing that at all.
And
Because
if you-
I believe when you hire someone, you don't know. You're going off the vibe you get when you meet them. Obviously, you want to look for the skills that they say they possess on the resume that you want for the job, but you're just not going to know until the person starts working.
when you know there's not a fit, get rid of it. If you know it's not a fit, get rid of it. If you buy that pair of shoes, ladies, and on the second day that you wear them, you feeling a big corn coming on, you don't keep trying to put them on. You say, deuces. Do the same with people who aren't supporting your vision and aren't helping your business to grow. You'll find out in the long run that they can become cancer if you don't deal with them. And it's more painful to get it cut out, to cut off your bunion, as opposed to just taking the shoes and giving them to somebody they fit.
There you go.
And on that note, thank you for stopping by for another episode of Commerce and Chill. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions. Tell us about your hiring and firing stories, particularly in the small business space. We'd love to start a dialogue.
In the comments
You
below.
see, we don't necessarily always agree. We believe that we, as small business owners, have the opportunity to change the economy through the jobs that we create. But We need people that want to go to work, and we need to have the right people on the A train heading in the right direction. So catch the A train, and while you're on the train, you can listen to Commerce and Chill. I'm Jessica Johnson, Co.
I'm Waleed, Coach.
And thanks for coming by. See you soon.